The Sciforror Film Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Sciforror Film Podcast. I am here on my own this time. Unfortunately, Scott Walker has not been well and he's not going to be able to do this in the same way he wasn't able to join me at the Romford Horror Film Festival. Now, this is my report back from the Romford Horror Film Festival, and here we go. We'll start off with day one. Now, unfortunately, because I was on my own, there were a lot of films I didn't get to see. So I'm going to go through a list of the films I didn't see on day one. So we have the favourite classic film of The Shuttered Room. We have The Whisper Within the Woods, which is a new independent film. Long Weekend, another classic film. Staycation, which was another new independent film. Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, another classic film. Cheryl, which was a new indie feature film. The Tenant, which was another classic film. The Lift, which is another classic film. Hole Akajama, which is a new indie film. Metropolis, which is the Giorgio Moroder version, which was a classic film. Threads, which was the classic TV drama from BBC. Greasy Strangler, which is another classic film. Butcher, Baker, Nightmare Maker, another classic film. Cat People, which was another classic film. All This Time, which was another new indie. The Stuff, another classic film. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, a classic film. Stephen Berkoff's Telltale Heart, new independent film. And Angst, which was another classic film. There were also a load of late night shorts which were repeated on another day, and I did get to see them then, as I did with The Shuttered Room. Some of these are not going to have a great deal of detail about them, but these are all the films I did see. So I started off on day one. I spent most of the time trying to do mostly short films. So I started off on day one with the first lot of short films. The first one was Psycho Data, which is a sort of comedy horror. It's an interview in one room between a therapist and a woman about her recent date. It was an okay film, and you know, for what it was quite good. It's two people in an empty room, basically, which can be difficult to make work, but it worked okay. The second film was called The Spirits of Penge. This was done like a TV ghost hunter show. It was kind of well done-ish. It was a bit slow in paces. Good idea, but a little bit dull. I didn't really get into it that much. Now, I honestly thought that this was some kind of mockumentary, but I was later told that it wasn't, that it was actually a proper kind of ghost hunter type program. So I don't know. I'm still I'm still a bit curious out on that, because I'm not sure whether I believe that it was real or a mockumentary. The third short film was called Fetch. Not totally original idea, but it's well made, and the end of it was slightly unexpected. I'm not going to give too many spoilers away for some of these films, because I'd like people to go out and get them, and I will, as much as possible, I will put up as many links as I can to the films or to trailers of them. The next film was called Destructive Grief. This I thought was very well made. Some really good camera work, good use of music and sound effects. Really good idea. I think that they could have done more with it, though. just sort of the idea of the self-destructiveness of grief, it was really good. I just think it could have gone further. The next film was one I really did like. It's called Strings. It was kind of like a teen holiday, three teens on a holiday, kind of superficial thing of selfies and all this kind of thing. What I did like about this is there was a really good use of silence in this film. There isn't any overpowering music or anything like that. Then it created a really great atmosphere. There's good effects in it as well, and some really good acting. And altogether, I thought it was a really good film. Uh, the next one was called Baby Jitter. Some good effects, some good sound effects and things like that. And a fairly good jump scare in it as well, but it wasn't anything spectacular. Then we have Painted Room. There's some slightly odd camera work in this. It's a very odd short film. I'm not quite sure it worked for me, but it was okay. Next was Bon Appetit, which was there was great use of a voiceover in this, and I thought it was really good. It was kind of like a with dinner date thing with it with a twist to it, which worked quite well. Then we have the House of Shield. Good cinematography in this. It's about a very odd family, and then they're kind of seeing things now. There's a grandma who is religious. You just kind of got the feeling that guilt had driven her mad. It was quite good, and it had an unexpected ending to it, but I don't know, it was okay. Then we had Fast Sale, which I did like. It's good cinematography, well acted, great idea about somebody wanting to sell a house quick. Really well made, and that is one film that I think I may well be trying to get an interview with the filmmaker at some point um, later on. So that was the first lot of short films that I saw. The second lot of short films, the first one was called Poppy's Saturn. It's subtitled, but not all of it was needed. I don't quite know why some of it had subtitles because I understood perfectly well what people were saying. It's an interesting start and there's an interesting song in it. The atmosphere is good, well acted. There's some very odd characters. Some good use of camera effects. It's odd, a bit trippy, a bit like an Italian sort of film, Italian horror film. Strange but good. The next one was called Welcome to the Machine. It's kind of an internet DJ musician. It's strange and a bit trippy. It's an allegory on the music industry, I take it. It's quite strange, but it's okay. It's not. I didn't think it was great, but it's okay. Um, then there's Wilderness, which I'm sure I've seen before, to be honest. Good cinematography, good atmosphere, built up to a decent jump scare, which was like a sort of dream thing. The atmosphere, as I say, was good all the way through, and the scare was the jump scares in it were decent. It was strange but interesting and quite a good film. Then we had a film called Spider, which was kind of arachnophobia based type thing. It's a little odd, interesting, odd but goodish. Um, After that was the Ferris Wheel, which was again another subtitled film. Again, it was a very strange film and a little confusing. I wasn't quite sure what this film was actually about, but it was interesting. The ideas in it were interesting. I wasn't totally sure what the concept of the entire film was. Then we had another one which was also very good called Ash Sunday. It was a comedy horror, very well made, really looked really good, odd but good, good effects, some interesting parts to it. I think it might have been a little bit long for me, but not in a bad way necessarily. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film and it was quite funny. There was a little glitch towards the end of it as it was being shown, but that didn't detract from the film itself. Um, then the next film is Turno di Noche, The Wrong Place. Very interesting start with like a girl being hunted through woods. There are some great makeup and effects in this, and it ends up with this kind of um, one-on-one fight between two kind of slashers, if you like. It's very good. I could have done with some subtitles at the end because there was some talking at the end, and I had no idea what they were talking about. But other than that, I thought it was a really good film. One of my favorite ones, I think. Then there was a film called Accusation. It was the extended cut. It's done almost like a found footage type thing, and it's a very interesting idea. It's kind of like a comment on the film world and on the kind of on the effects of accusations against people within that. Little bit overlong, but I think it worked really well. And the interesting thing about it is the guy who made it, I've actually been more used to seeing him doing comedy horrors. So it was interesting to see him doing something different like that. So yes, the next lot of short films was started off with a film called Primacy. Great effects. It's kind of about the dangers of using AI for war. Excellent quality, well acted, well made, really good, but it wasn't horror, it was science fiction. But yeah, it was a good film. Then we had Selfie, which is a film about self-image and societal norms, bullying, the effects of all of those things on people. It's kind of like almost like a kind of techno Dorian Gray, but in reverse, um, using a phone. There's some really good effects, and it's really well made, and I thought it was a pretty good film. Then there was a film called Hallowed, which was, it was a film about a priest, lots of religious imagery and all that kind of thing, holy judgment and that kind of stuff. There's some good effects in it, but it didn't really do a lot for me. Then there was a film called Seed of Doubt, which was interesting because I was contacted by the director of this film um, before the film festival, and it was interesting to watch. It's actually a film done in Yiddish with subtitles, and it is, it's got religious kind of bits in it, and there's this kind of demon exorcism type thing in it. The cinematography was really good, really interesting effects, and I thought it was a really good film. It was well acted and well put together. Um, then we had something which was I thought was really quite funny and good. Uh, it's a thing called House Hunters. Very interesting, very well made, really good. A bit, I don't know, mad, funny, but really good at the end. I thought it was really good. Some very there's at least one actress in it that I've definitely seen on television before. And But it was well made and well, it was a good film. Then we have a film called Dagon. It's an animated film. It's a kind of odd film that's quite good, and it's a kind of Lovecraftian type story that works quite well. Then we have another one that I really liked called Stendhal. This was subtitled again. It's a very interesting camera working, this. And it kind of starts off about being like a robbery at an art in an art gallery, and it ends being a bit kind of slashery, serial killer. Some really good effects, and I thought it was a really good film. Then there was a film called The Non-Existence. Had a very odd start to it, but with some good effects. It kind of starts off, you think it's going to be a vampire film. It's got an interesting idea, but I'm not totally sure I understood it. I think it was about these things called the non-existence, which seemed to be the opposite of vampires, because you could see them in the mirror, but you couldn't see them in the real world. And a vampire bites one of them and then becomes one of them, stops being a vampire. And I honestly thought they're all dressed in black, and I thought, is this how goths are made? But I don't know. Uh, so two of them end up haunting this grieving woman, and then end up killing her. And it's an interesting film, as I say, and it's an interesting watch. But I'm not completely convinced I understood exactly what it was about. Um, so after that, I did try to watch a feature film called The Crucifix, Blood of the Exorcist, which I would say that the part I saw of it had good cinematography and it looked really good. But I had to leave early because I desperately needed a drink and I desperately needed to use the toilet. So by the time I'd done all that, I couldn't, there was no point in going back. Um, so then I watched some long short films. Um, the first one of those I absolutely loved, probably I think one of the best shorts I'd seen. It's called Have a Good Day. It's got quite a funny start to it. It's odd, but in an interesting way, and it's a funny story. It's a very clever idea, really well made and well acted. Great makeup effects and other effects, practical effects. It starts funny, then kind of gets serious. Um, and it has a good twist at the end of it, and I thought it was a really, really good film. Um, the next one is called Leatherback, which it starts a bit like a police video, old looking VCR, sort of found footage, time travel thing. Acting is a bit wooden, it's a bit dull. It was more science fiction than it was horror, and it was just too long for me. I just lost interest in it, to be honest with you. The next film was called The Bomb. Um, I'm not sure I would class this as a horror film as such. It's subtitled. I'm not sure where it comes from originally. Uh, it's a very nasty film, in which some not very nice people um, basically just seem to take pleasure in destroying other people and other people's property, and in a quite a nasty way, like by setting fire to them and things like that. Very well made, but not very nice film, as in um, just yeah, it was a difficult watch. Then there was a film called Merkurio. This is black and white subtitled. It is a very odd and very strange film about a man who ends up being owned by a witch, and yeah, she keeps him in a cave, and yeah, I don't know. It was just bizarre. Uh, Not really my kind of thing at all. So that was day one. And all in all, it was a pretty good day, as was every day at the festival. Uh, The Sciforror Film Podcast.